Welcome to the Inner Magic School podcast, the podcast for spiritual women with vision, experts in their industry, ready to remove the unseen roadblocks, step into their true power, and fast track their business success. Despite what you've heard, hustling harder is not the answer. Success happens naturally when you become fully aligned. And that starts on the inside. So get your notebooks ready and let's go to Inner Magic School. Welcome back to the Inner Magic School podcast. I'm so happy that you're here. I'm so happy that you're joining me today as we dive into reflections on manifesting and magic. And I want to talk a little bit about some personal things for me that I have literally just been reflecting on, that I think when I share them with you, you are going to discover how they'll be relevant to you. They'll be relevant to your life, and how if you take them, you can begin to apply them in your own life. And so that's really the whole reason that I wanted to make this podcast, not to brag about my manifestations or my results that I've gotten, anything like that, but just to share with you from a place of really doing the work so that I can have the life that I desire. Because that is what I help my clients with. That is what I help people with, is to realize that they are able to create the life that they want, that they are able to manifest using magic, the life that they desire for themselves. And so part of that is this idea around really literally scripting our lives into existence. And so what do I mean by that? Do I mean just writing it down on a piece of paper and then it happens? Yes and no. So here's what prompted this podcast. Let me just start at the beginning. The other day, I went for a walk, and I really began to have this internal dialogue and these reflections on the past 3 years specifically in my life. And so what was really interesting was, before that walk, before those reflections, what happened was that I found an old hypnotherapy that I had written for myself, recorded for myself, and I was listening to it a lot at the time. And I hadn't listened to this particular audio in quite some time. In fact, at least a year, but I was really thinking like it may have been more like 2 years that I had really kind of gone and sat with this particular hypnotherapy audio. And what I realized as I was listening to it, and as, these 2 years later, I was in shock, almost in awe, that what I had recorded, what I had written down, what I had written and then recorded in this audio was the life that I am living, is the life that I am currently living. The only thing that hadn't happened from that specific iteration was that I have not yet hit that $1 million mark in my business. Although I really am very certain that this will be the case within the next couple of years. I'm on track for that. And so what's really fascinating, though, was everything else that I had mentioned had occurred in my life, had manifested into my life. And the reason that I thought this would make a really good podcast is because so many times as I listened to that audio, as I would journal about the life I wanted, as I would, literally begin to script out, what does the life that I want look like? I would sit and think, but I'm so far from this reality. So if you are maybe resonating with that right now, where you know in your mind what it is that you want your life to look like, what it is that you want your business to look like. Maybe you're kind of sitting in that right now where you're like, I know what I want it to look like, but I feel really far away from what it is that is in my mind's eye around this. And so I want to just share with you that I was there for, what felt like a really long time. I knew what I wanted, but it wasn't the reality I was currently living. It wasn't when I, looked at my life, when I looked at my business, this thing that I wrote down that I wanted felt like it may never happen for me. And this is the place that we need to work as women, as entrepreneurs, as business owners. This is really our work, is to figure out how we can, as quickly as possible, bridge the gap from where we want to be to where we are, right? That's literally what manifestation and magic are all about, is how do I influence the energy around me? How do I influence my world so that it looks more like what I want and less like what I don't want? And this was the thing that I really wanted to share. Was I sat in that for quite a while. For a while before I started to really figure out the pieces that needed to be in place around it, right? And what is really so very fascinating to me is, as I look back on that journey for myself and I can remember like sitting in my car crying, thinking, is this ever going to be different? Is it ever going to work out for me? What am I doing wrong? Why does it seem like everybody else can, do these things in their business and in their life? And it seems like it happens so easily for them, but it feels like it's taking me forever to figure it out. And now being able to look back on it and be like, wow, like seeing the progress and seeing how not just a couple of things, but everything that I was working for at one time, is now my life. My business looks the way that I had talked about. My financial life has completely turned around. The clients are easily attracted to me and working with me. Everything that I said that I wanted, it was like, I'm almost, as I was kind of like going back and listening and then reflecting, it was like, I am in awe. I am in awe of the universe, of myself, of this, co-creation, this collaboration of magic. And it just made me even more excited to share the things that I teach, because it really is evident in my life. It is evident every single day in my life that these are the things, these tools that I share, whether it's the subconscious recoding or spiritual alchemy or raising the self-esteem. And, when it comes to raising the self-esteem, this is the area that I think I've worked the most, that I think has made one of the biggest impacts in my own life, because the last piece of it is always about the part that I talk about is really this social selling strategy. How do we take all the magical things but put them into practical application around our business and actually sell the things that we create, right, in our business? And so, but all of those things, all of the things that I talk and teach about, underneath all of them is the concept of self-worth and self-love. And these pieces have to be in place in order for us to keep going to our next level, to keep attracting more money and, opening the container. And so this is the thing that became really apparent to me in the last month or so, where I was going through a specific situation where I had to, well, I didn't have to, but I chose to really put my money where my mouth was in terms of self-esteem, in terms of practicing what I preach, right? I'm stuttering my words here, but practicing what I preach around self-esteem. So when someone comes to you and they have an offer around what it is that they think that you are worth, whether it is time or money, it's really easy to just go along with what people want, especially when we're in a business setting and it's like, okay, well, let me really kind of think about and play out all the scenarios here of what is the best case scenario for me and for my business, and what do I think I'm worth? What am I valuing myself at? And then when someone reflects back to you and says, I don't want to honor your value in that way, then you then have a choice to say, okay, I'll accept what it is you're offering, or no, that just doesn't work for me because I actually see my value as more than that. And so anytime we do that, right? Anytime we are standing in our power and owning our power and self-esteem in this really powerful way, it can feel really scary. It can trigger things inside of you that make you question it a little bit, make you question yourself, make you wonder if you're making the right decision, right? This plays out so many ways in our business, whether we're asking for the sale or whether we're dealing with a client, whether we're dealing with, people in the industry. And so it is this reflection. And so I had this opportunity in that moment to decide and make the choice based on my work and my value. And what was really interesting is it did bring up some things for me. It did bring up some of the old programming of, are you really worth what you're saying that you're worth? And again, if you don't have the work to back it up, if you don't have the self-esteem that really supports that, this is why I always say that your self-worth is equal to your net worth. If you don't have those things in place, it's likely that the old programming will come up and have you make a decision that is not supportive of the overall vision or supportive of what your value truly is. And so this was an opportunity for me to really step into that on a deeper level. And the reason that I share that is because just a week or two after this moment, this reflection for me, where I, chose to stand in my power. I chose to say, that doesn't work for me. Here is what does. And if that doesn't work for you, then that's okay. And we can do it a different way, right? We don't have to work together. It's not the kind of compromise that I would be willing to make, because it would not be honoring my own value. And just a week or two after that initial stepping into the power, so to speak, things began to play out on an even bigger scale for me. And really the ball started rolling bigger. My container immediately got bigger. And again, these are reflections that I am processing through and noticing the work that I've done. And the reason, again, that I'm sharing them with you, I'm not going to edit this out, y'all. Just, this is how we do. The reason that I'm sharing this is because I think that when you begin to do this work and embody each and every step, whether it is, again, the subconscious recoding and really diving into what that looks like for you, in my Becoming Magical program, it is completely laced with the hypnotherapy. It is woven all throughout it for this subconscious recoding to occur. Because these are the things, these are the tools, these are the concepts that have totally changed my life, have totally shifted my money story and my self-worth and my self-image as it relates to my value, right? So these are the things that I walk people through, how to do this for yourself, how to open the container, blending the feminine and the masculine energy so that we can literally manifest the life of our dreams. And so, again, these reflections are for you to consider because they are evidence of this work really opening things up and really allowing the magic to come through. And if this is part of what I aspire to, is to be able to share my journey and share what is going on for me, especially the magic, even though I'll be honest, sometimes that still feels a little uncomfortable for me because of old programming around bragging or, some of the like, well, you're not supposed to share the amazing, magical result that you're getting yourself. You're supposed to, shine the light on other people. And honestly, I much prefer that. If I'm being totally honest, I much prefer to shine the light on my clients' amazing results or the people around me. But again, this is me sharing this is embodying what I teach, because if we aren't sharing our own amazing magical results that we get with what we've created for ourselves, then how can we show other people what's possible? And that is truly one of my main missions this lifetime, is to step into my own power and create my own magical life to show other people what is possible. If you've listened to my podcast before, you've been, a part of my journey, then you will know that I was not born with a silver spoon in my mouth. I literally came from nothing. I came from a family that grew up below the poverty line. My father was in prison, and my mom and myself and my brother were on government assistance for most of my childhood. And so again, this is like this part of my journey of allowing that to, laying down the things that don't work and releasing I don't have to carry that stuff, and neither do you. Your past does not define the future. You get to choose. And so that's what these reflections are. They're showing you that somebody who came from nothing was able to build an incredible business that serves people at a really high level, and to be able to share the things that work for me so that you can then go do those things and have your own amazing magical manifestations. That is my entire mission and purpose, as I see it in this lifetime, is to do the work myself, have the result, and show you that you can have the result as well. So these reflections, They are genuine. Maybe we're a little bit all over the place, a little bit messy. Welcome to my brain. Okay. But it really is an authentic sharing of some really incredible things that have happened for me over the last few years, and not even just few years, but over the last couple of months, as I'm sharing with you the transitions that I've kind of gone through. So all of this, I want you to take, and I want you to have your own reflections of, one, look back at the progress that you have already made. Where are you maybe not considering the magic that has already occurred? Maybe even like stop to dive into the gratitude for where you are, even if it's not your end point, because I can promise you that I'm not at my end point, right? I have miles to go, and I'm excited about that journey. I'm excited about what will continue to unfold for me. And so where are you? Where have you been, right? Like really reflect back on your own journey of what you've been able to do, because I can promise you, if you really sit with it, you've likely been able to do some pretty incredible things. So often we don't give ourselves the credit. I talked about that, as like we do have the brainwashing to not brag and not talk about our success. So take a minute and, even if you don't share it with anybody, even if you just journal about it, take a minute to really give some gratitude for the success that you've already been able to have, and have a moment of reflection, sinking into that feeling of gratitude for where you've been, as well as being excited for what else is coming for you. So I invite you to do that with this podcast. That is sort of your challenge, your call to action, is to sit and reflect back over your journey. And then I would even encourage you to share it. Share it with one person. You can share it with me. I would love to celebrate your success with you. So maybe pop into my Instagram. You can send me a DM. You can just pop it into a comment or something. I would love to celebrate with you. So put that on your to-do list for today, to just sit in a reflection of where you've come from and how far you've come, and just soak it in for a minute, because I promise you, this is part of the work, is just honoring in gratitude each and every step of the way as you continue to allow your journey to unfold. So I hope that you've enjoyed this walk down memory lane with me, these reflections. And again, take this to heart and do this work, because this really is a big piece of the work. I also encourage you to write down what it is that you want. Again, inside of my Becoming Magical Academy, which if you want to hear more about that, you can just head on over to my website, and there you can check under the work with me. I have 2 opportunities for you to join the Academy. One of them, you can just go ahead and join right now and start to dive into the activations and the hypnotherapy, and really walk through each step that I share with you in that. And then the second one is when I open the doors to our next round, where we go through it all together. There's an opportunity for you to dive in and get direct coaching from me. So you can join the wait list for that, or you can go ahead and get started right now learning how to create your own hypnotherapy in the most effective way. I actually call the hypnotherapy 1, activation, and 2, it is spell casting, because our word is our wand. And so you're creating your life. You're literally creating it. But again, that's only one piece of it. We also have to understand how business works, and how to make sales in our business, right? How to really have a strategy, a repeatable strategy to bring in new clients. And so I walk through every single piece of this. There's spiritual alchemy, there's the recoding, the subconscious recoding, and then there's the actual practical strategy. And then there's an entire section on what it actually looks like to raise your self-esteem. So if you're interested in that, you can go check it out, because this is the actual process that when you put it into place, these are the things that I have done that have completely changed my life. Completely, again, having that moment of reflection to say, wow, my life looks exactly like I meant for it to. None of it was accidental. Some of it was magical, but none of it was accidental. This is a really key distinction, is that everything in my life is intentional. Everything, from my business to my family to my friends, it is all intentional. So when you do this, when you go and you start to put the processes in place around it, you're going to be surprised at how quickly things shift. Again, taking this, what I've given you here, to reflect back already on the success. This is a big piece of it. We have to be showing gratitude, and not just showing gratitude, but feeling gratitude, to be able to allow new things to unfold. So that is what I have for you today. So please take the time to do that part of this work. And again, if you want to dive deeper, go on over to sarahjury.com or send me a message on Instagram. I can't wait to hear from you. I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I always love hearing from you, and I love connecting with you and sharing these with you. So thank you so much, and I will see you